Princess Illyria Zorovian stood rigidly as attendants fastened the ceremonial armor across her shoulders, the iridescent plates catching the light of 3 suns streaming through the orbital palace windows. The traditional Valkyrian wedding attire weighed heavily upon her, though not nearly as heavy as the responsibility she carried. "The human has arrived, Your Highness," announced Admiral Torvak, her father's most trusted advisor. His tone carried the faintest note of disgust. "He awaits in the celestial chamber." Illyria straightened her spine, antenna pulsing with suppressed emotion. "And does this Damon Hayes look suitable? At least presentable for the ceremony?" "He appears unremarkable in every way," Torvak replied. "Just as the reports described." "Unremarkable," she repeated. The word tasted bitter. After generations of Valkyrian royalty bonding with celebrated warriors and distinguished diplomats, she would be the first to wed a common human, a sacrifice deemed necessary after the devastating Proxima conflict had left both civilizations exhausted. The ornate doors to her chambers parted, revealing her father, Emperor Chiron. Though his carapace had grayed with age, his posture remained commanding. "Daughter, it is time." She inclined her head respectfully. "Father, must I really go through with this? Surely there are other diplomatic solutions." "We have discussed this extensively," he interrupted, voice gentle but firm. "The Alliance Council was clear. A royal bond will satisfy both the human diplomatic corps and our military council. It prevents further bloodshed." "I understand the political necessity," Illyria conceded. "But why this particular human? If I must marry one of their kind, why not someone of standing? A general? A dignitary? Reports say this Damon Hayes has no notable military record, no political connections, nothing." Her father's expression softened. "That was precisely the point of contention. Our council would not accept any human with military authority, and their leaders would not risk any of their prominent figures. This neutral selection was the compromise." Illyria followed her father through the grand corridors, her 4-fingered hand resting lightly on his arm. "Then I shall do my duty," she said, masking her resentment behind royal composure. The celestial chamber hummed with tension as she entered. Hundreds of attendees, both Valkyrian and human, stood in formal arrangements, divided like opposing armies, and there at the altar waited her future husband. Damon Hayes stood calmly amid the alien splendor, dressed in the formal diplomatic attire provided for him, black with silver accents, designed to complement but not match her own regalia. He was tall for a human, with unexpectedly broad shoulders and dark hair cut short in what she presumed was a human military fashion, though his records showed no such service. As she approached, Illyria studied his face, searching for signs of awe or intimidation that humans typically displayed around Valkyrians. Instead, his blue eyes met hers steadily, respectfully, with something unreadable behind them. The ceremonial procedures began, ancient Valkyrian vows alternating with human pledges. When it came time for them to complete the bond by pressing their palms together, Illyria noticed something unexpected. Calluses on his hands that seemed inconsistent with the background of a civilian administrative worker. "With this union," the officiant pronounced, "we forge peace between worlds." As the formal reception began afterward, Illyria maintained her distance from Damon, observing how he navigated the complex social hierarchies of her people with surprising ease. He spoke little but listened intently, showing neither the nervous chatter nor the overconfidence typical of humans in unfamiliar settings. "Your new consort is peculiar," noted her cousin Talari, mandibles clicking softly. "He watches everything like a sentinel. Not what I expected from the reports." "What does it matter?" Illyria responded. "The arrangement is made. He will serve his purpose as the human representative in our court." Later, as they were escorted to their shared quarters, A political necessity she had bitterly accepted, Damon finally spoke directly to her. "Princess," he said, his voice unexpectedly deep and clear, "I understand this isn't what you would have chosen. I want you to know I respect your sacrifice and will do everything in my power to make this arrangement successful." Illyria regarded him coolly. "Just remember your place, human. This is about peace between worlds, nothing more." Something flickered in his eyes, not offense, but something more complex. "Of course, Your Highness. Peace is precisely why I'm here."
3 lunar cycles into their arrangement, Illyria had developed a routine that minimized her interactions with her human husband. They shared quarters as protocol demanded, but Damon respectfully maintained his distance, sleeping in the adjoining chamber and appearing only when diplomatic functions required them together. Today, however, she found him in their shared living space, studying a holographic display of Valkyrian military history. "You find our conquest of the Tarshan Nebula interesting?" she asked, startling him slightly. Damon deactivated the display smoothly. "Your people's tactical adaptations are remarkable. The nebula's radiation disrupted standard navigation, yet Admiral Zinther's forces developed countermeasures within days." Illyria's antenna twitched with surprise. Most humans struggle to pronounce Zinther's name, let alone understand his significance. "I've always been interested in military history," he replied with a casual shrug that didn't quite match the precision in his eyes. "And I've had time to study since arriving." She settled across from him, curiosity temporarily overriding her aloofness. "You speak our language better than most diplomats who've trained for decades." "Languages come naturally to me," he said. "Useful skill for an administrative liaison." "Indeed." She studied him, noticing how he sat, back never fully touching the chair, body positioned with clear sight lines to all entrances. "For someone with no military background, you carry yourself like our royal guards." A small smile touched his lips. "Just good posture. My mother was strict about that." Later that evening, they attended a formal dinner with the Valkyrian High Command. As Illyria performed her royal duties, she found herself occasionally glancing toward Damon. He navigated the complex political undercurrents with unexpected grace, avoiding faction-specific terms and gestures that had trapped other human envoys. "Your consort adapts well," Commander Vrexel noted, mandibles clicking in what Illyria recognized as suspicion. "Almost too well." "He is adequately trained," she replied diplomatically. That night, returning to their quarters, Illyria heard unusual sounds from Damon's chamber, rhythmic movements, controlled breathing. Overriding the privacy protocols, she opened the connecting door to find him completing what appeared to be an intensive physical routine, his body moving through complex forms with fluid precision. He stopped immediately, reaching for a tunic. "I apologize for disturbing you, Princess." "Those movements." She stepped closer. "They resemble Valkyrian combat drills." "Just staying fit," he said, but his eyes held that same unreadable quality she'd noticed at their wedding. "Earth exercises." Of course. She didn't believe him but decided not to press. "The Galactic Council arrives tomorrow. We'll be expected to present a united front." "I understand my role, Princess." As she turned to leave, she noticed a small scar at his shoulder, one that looked distinctly like a plasma burn from Valkyrian weaponry. Before she could question it, he had slipped the tunic on, covering the evidence. That night, lying awake, Illyria pondered the growing contradictions in her husband's behavior, his knowledge too precise, his adaptations too quick, his body bearing marks of conflicts he supposedly never experienced. For the first time, she wondered if there was more to this arrangement than she had been told. What she couldn't admit, even to herself, was that beneath her suspicion grew something unexpected, a reluctant respect for the quiet strength and intelligence he displayed, so at odds with the unremarkable human she had expected to endure. In the darkness, she whispered a question to no one. "Who are you really, Damon Hayes?" In his separate chamber, as if sensing her thoughts, Damon stared at a secure communication device hidden in his personal effects, contemplating whether to contact his handlers on Earth. Soon, the Galactic Council Summit would bring together the most powerful figures in known space, and with them, the dangers his true role had prepared him for all along. The grand summit hall gleamed under crystalline chandeliers, representatives from 17 galactic powers mingling in uneasy diplomacy. Illyria performed her duties flawlessly, though her attention repeatedly drifted to Damon, who stood conversing with an Earth diplomat in hushed tones that ceased abruptly when she approached. "Princess," the Earth diplomat bowed respectfully, but his eyes darted nervously between them. "Your consort speaks highly of your leadership." "Does he?" She fixed Damon with a penetrating stare. "Curious, as we rarely discuss politics." Before Damon could respond, Emperor Chiron summoned her to meet the Arcturian delegates. As she departed, she noticed Damon's gaze sweeping methodically across the room, lingering on service entrances and security positions. Hours into the summit, during a rare moment alone, Illyria confronted him in a secluded alcove. "You're watching the room like a tactical officer, not a consort. Is there something I should know?" Damon hesitated, conflict visible in his eyes. "Just being cautious. These gatherings can be unpredictable." Yushi began, but was interrupted by the summit coordinator announcing the formal treaty signing would commence in the Imperial Chamber. As the procession moved through the connecting corridor, Illyria felt Damon's hand suddenly press against her lower back, gently guiding her to alter her pace. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "Trust me," he whispered, his posture subtly changed, more alert, more focused. "Something's wrong." The explosion came seconds later, rocking the adjacent hallway they would have been passing through. Chaos erupted instantly. Security barriers activated, separating attendees into isolated sections. Illyria found herself cut off from her father's guards, alone with Damon in a rapidly darkening corridor as emergency protocols engaged. "Stay behind me," Damon commanded, his voice transformed, harder, authoritative. From beneath his formal jacket, he produced a slender combat blade of Earth design. "Where did you?" Her question died as three figures in stealth armor materialized at the corridor's end, weapons raised. "Assassins," she breathed, recognizing the insignia of the Krell Directorate, radical separatists opposed to any alliance. What happened next occurred so quickly she could barely process it. Damon moved with impossible speed, his previously unassuming presence transformed into lethal precision. He crossed the space between them, and the first assassin in a blur, blade finding the vulnerable connection point in the attacker's armor, a weakness only Valkyrian combat specialists should have known. The second assassin fired, but Damon was already moving, pulling Illyria down while simultaneously launching his blade with perfect accuracy into the attacker's weapon hand. As the third rushed them, Damon intercepted with combat techniques she recognized from elite Valkyrian Special Forces training. Techniques no human should know. In moments, it was over. Three assassins lay neutralized, and Damon stood protectively before her, a different man entirely from the quiet consort she thought she knew. Blood, both human and alien, spattered his once immaculate formal wear. When security forces finally broke through the barriers, they found the princess unharmed and her husband standing calmly among the fallen attackers. The blade returned to its hidden sheath. "What are you?" Illyria demanded when they were alone again, her voice shaking with shock and anger. Damon's expression held regret, but no apology. "Your security detail, among other things." "You lied. Everything was a lie." He looked at her steadily, dropping all pretense of the unassuming consort. "Not everything. But the truth is complicated." As royal guards surrounded them, Illyria realized the political marriage that had been merely inconvenient had now become something far more dangerous, and the man she thought she knew was a carefully constructed facade hiding secrets that could threaten everything. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," Damon said quietly. "But we need to move quickly. That attack was too well coordinated to be isolated." For the first time since their marriage, Illyria looked at her husband and saw not the passive human she had dismissed, but someone altogether more dangerous and infinitely more intriguing. Phantom Division. Special Operations Unit reporting directly to Earth's Unified Command, Damon explained as they hurried through a secure passage toward the Imperial safe room. "My assignment was to protect both you and the Alliance." Illyria's antenna flickered with barely contained fury. "So our marriage was nothing but a tactical placement?" "The marriage was diplomatically necessary regardless," he replied, checking the corridor before motioning her forward. "My selection for it was strategic." They reached the safe room to find Admiral Torvak already there, organizing security responses. His mandibles clicked in suspicion at Damon's blood-spattered appearance. "Princess, I've received reports of your consort's unexpected combat prowess," Torvak said. "Perhaps he has explanations to offer?" Later, Illyria commanded. Where is my father? Secure in the secondary chamber. The assassination attempt was more extensive than initially thought, simultaneous attacks on 3 delegation heads. Damon's expression darkened. This wasn't just about killing leadership. It was designed to trigger security protocols that would separate key figures, making them vulnerable. Torvak's compound eyes narrowed. And how would you know their intentions, human? Because it's what I would have planned, Damon answered without hesitation. Which is why we need to move the Emperor immediately. The safe rooms would have been compromised months ago. Illyria studied her husband, seeing him clearly for the first time. You believe this is an inside operation? Has to be. The attackers knew exactly where to strike, knew precisely when the barriers would activate. Damon turned to her. Princess, who had access to today's full security protocols. Only High Command, and she stopped, realization dawning. And the Earth delegation, Torvak finished, hand moving to his weapon. Not just Earth, Damon countered. This operation shows characteristics of Valkyrian military doctrine, modified with human adaptability. Someone on both sides is working together. A priority communication interrupted them, Emperor Karen's security detail reporting movement toward his position. We need to reach him now, Illyria insisted. Damon opened a concealed panel in his formal wear, revealing compressed tactical equipment. I'll get you there. As they prepared to move, Illyria confronted him one last time. Why didn't you tell me? We've been together for months. His eyes met hers, something genuine finally visible beneath the operative's discipline. My mission parameters required complete cover. And, he hesitated, you needed to form your own impressions without interference. You mean you needed me to underestimate you, she corrected bitterly. At first, he admitted. Later, I simply didn't want to lose the small trust we had built. Before she could respond, Admiral Torvak received an encrypted message that caused his posture to stiffen. The Emperor requests our immediate presence and emergency command. As they moved through the station's restricted pathways, Illyria noticed Damon growing increasingly tense. Something's wrong, he whispered to her. Torvak's leading us away from standard protection routes. She started to question him when they entered a maintenance junction and found themselves surrounded by armed guards, bearing insignias of both Earth and Valkyrian special forces. Admiral Torvak, Damon acknowledged coldly. Working both sides all along. The alliance would weaken both our empires, Torvak replied. Fortunately, others in Earth Command agree. Illyria felt coldness wash over her. My father will soon join us, Torvak assured her. Once he understands the necessity of maintaining our military positions. Damon edged imperceptibly closer to Illyria, his voice barely audible. Trust me one more time. As Torvak began explaining his vision for continued controlled conflict between their worlds, Illyria realized with startling clarity that despite his deception, she did trust Damon, more than she had ever expected to trust any human. And in that moment of decision, everything changed. The Imperial Command Center echoed with urgent activity as Emperor Chiron addressed the assembled leaders of Earth and Valkyria. Beside him stood Illyria and Damon, their formal attire replaced with practical combat gear, evidence of the battle they had survived together. The conspiracy has been neutralized, the Emperor announced. Thanks to the actions of Princess Illyria and her consort, we have identified the traitors within both our governments. 3 days had passed since their confrontation with Torvak. 3 days of revelations, arrests, and the dismantling of a shadow operation years in the making. 3 days in which Illyria had witnessed her husband transform completely from the quiet figure she had dismissed to the skilled operative whose true abilities had saved countless lives. As the meeting concluded, they retreated to a private chamber where Damon finally removed the tactical armor that had replaced his consort's formal wear. 13 conspirators in Earth's command, he said, checking a secure transmission. 8 in Valkyrian High Command, all now in custody. Illyria watched him, still reconciling the 2 versions of the man she had married. Your mission is complete, then. I assume Earth will recall you now. Damon hesitated, setting aside the communication device. Actually, I've been offered a new assignment, which is permanent security liaison to the Valkyrian royal family. If accepted, I would continue in my role as your consort, but with official acknowledgement of my true capabilities. She moved closer to him, antenna sensing his elevated pulse. And if I refuse to continue this arrangement now that the deception is revealed? For the first time since she had known him, uncertainty crossed his features. Then I would respect your decision and return to Earth service. You say that as though it would be difficult to leave, she observed. It would, he admitted, the operative's mask finally dropping completely. What began as an assignment became something I didn't expect. Illyria circled him slowly, studying him with new awareness. In Valkyrian culture, trust requires absolute truth between bonded pairs. You've hidden your true self from the beginning. Not entirely, he countered. The skills and training were concealed. Yes. But the person you've come to know these past months, my thoughts, my respect for your people, my admiration for you, those were never fabricated. She stopped before him. Admiration, your intelligence, your dedication to your people, your strength. His voice softened. I was selected for this mission because my handlers believed I could maintain emotional distance while performing my duty. I failed in that regard. For the first time since their wedding, Illyria initiated physical contact, her four-fingered hand touching his face. Show me something real, Damon Hayes. Something not calculated for the mission. The kiss that followed surprised them both, a bridge between worlds neither had expected to cross. Later, standing before her father in the Imperial chambers, Illyria made her decision formal. I wish to maintain the marriage alliance, with amended terms acknowledging Consort Hayes' true position and abilities. Emperor Chiron studied them both. And this is your wish as well? He asked Damon. It is, Your Majesty. Not as an operative of Earth, but as a man who has found unexpected honor in serving two worlds, and unexpected love in a marriage that began as duty. That night, in their shared quarters, truly shared for the first time, Illyria traced the scars on her husband's body, each one telling stories of missions and worlds she had never imagined. No more secrets, she whispered. No more secrets, he agreed, pulling her close. Though I should warn you, you may find the truth about me far less interesting than the mystery. Her laughter, rare and genuine, filled the room. I doubt that very much, Operative Hayes. As artificial night fell over the Imperial station, two figures from different worlds found common ground in the most unexpected of places, a political arrangement transformed by danger and truth into something neither empire had anticipated, a genuine alliance of hearts.